Hello YouTube, this is LoungingLion, and today I would like to talk about one of my other favorite characters to play in MapleStory, and that is Mercedes. Mercedes is another linked skills character who becomes more powerful when the skills are linked together. One thing to note, I'm not necessarily going to be doing or showing these moves in order. I'm going to be showing them in a way that makes sense to me. Okay, the first thing I'm going to talk about are the basic attack skills. These are not necessarily skills that you earn in the basic levels, like the lower levels, but they're just kind of like Mercedes generic attacks. And the first one is Swift Dual Shot, which I have up on here in 7. Swift Dual Shot, wow. And then there's Piercing Storm. I never use these. And then there's Stunning Strikes. This one's a little bit better. I have it on shift. I sometimes use it. And then there's Ishtar's Ring. This one's pretty good. This is kind of like going to be your go-to. It's also kind of like the mini boss delete button. So Ishtar's Ring is probably the one you're going to be using most often out of all of this kind of like basic, just like arrow shots. And there's one other one, Parting Shot. So if you use it in a combo with Rising Rush, if you use Rising Rush, then right afterwards you can use Parting Shot. Parting Shot basically does no damage, especially when you're in the higher levels. So there's really no reason to use it. The next thing I want to talk about is the first combo concept, which I call slide and bunch. So first we want to, if you look at my keybinds here, first we want to use Lightning Edge and then Rising Rush. And I'll demonstrate this on some mobs later, but right now I'm just trying to, with no distractions, just show you what I'm thinking. And so Lightning Edge will kind of move you across a group of enemies. And then Rising Rush starts the combo sequence. And from Rising Rush, you can go into Parting Shot, which is probably not what you're going to do. Or you can go into, I mean, you can use Parting Shot if you want to like impress your friends that, oh, you can use that move, but it's pretty much useless. But so you're going to be going Lightning Edge, Rising Rush. And the reason why I call this slide and bunch is because we're moving across a group of enemies, pushing them back and like kind of like compacting them. Because Rising Rush will actually kind of push the enemies into a certain place. Now, there is an option with Rising Rush to not move at all. And you can hold the down key and no, I guess only the down key. Sometimes it'll just do this for you automatically, like it will not go anywhere. So you can use Rising Rush without actually moving if you hold the down key. It's going to be a good thing if you don't really want to go anywhere before you lead into your combos. Okay, now we're on to the second part of the combo chain, which is like the aerial part. This is the part where Mercedes is in the air. And that starts off with aerial barrage. You can start the combo chain just by jumping. You don't need to use aerial barrage, but if you want to do like the link skill combo, then you need to use aerial barrage. And then you can go into Leaf Tornado, Spikes Royale, and then Rolling Moonsault. And this is kind of like the basic rotation that I like to do. That's before we start getting into the kind of like the finishing part of the combos. And so it's Aerial Barrage, Leaf Tornado, Spikes Royale, and Rolling Moonsault. And I'll just talk about each one of these a little bit individually, just so we can have a better understanding of them. All right, so Aerial Barrage just simply lifts you into the air. If you read the description, it says flying towards airborne enemies. Okay, but mainly it's to lift Mercedes into the air. And then Leaf Tornado, once you're in the air, either by jumping or by using Aerial Barrage, you'll spin around and drop a bunch of arrows all over the place. And then Spikes Royale is the move that you'll pair with that. And it will decrease enemy defense and make all attacks critical hits. And I usually use that one at least before Rolling Moonsault. And I personally feel like it just works better in this order, which is why I do it this way. It will increase, Rolling Moonsault will increase the damage of Rising Rush and Aerial Barrage. So the next time you run through this combo right here, these two will actually be stronger. You'll see the value of kind of like cycling through this combo chain the way I have it. And maybe if you want to set it up a little bit differently for your own taste, that's fine. But if you haven't ever tried this character before or haven't had success with this character before, I would suggest giving my layout a shot and see what happens. Oh yeah, one final note about Rolling Moonsault that it doesn't say in here, I don't think. But if I just use the move right here. Oh, did they get rid of it? Oh, they did. Oh, it used to be if you used Rolling Moonsault, it actually gave you a little bit more airtime. Oh, they nerfed Mercedes. Okay. Because it used to be you could use Rolling Moonsault and then you could go back into Leaf Tornado and Spikes Royale. And you could kind of just like keep going back over these three. But I guess we won't be able to do that because they have changed that. So let me just show you what all of these look like before we go into these finishing things. Okay, so that's up to Rolling Moonsault. Another thing to note is you don't necessarily need to do it. You don't necessarily need to include these two because yeah, Leaf Tornado will give you a little bit extra air as well. But Rolling Moonsault used to give you a little bit of push, I thought. All right, next part is the combo finishers, which are Gust Dive, Unicorn Spike, Spirit Nimble Flight, and Wrath of Enlil. Now, this Spirit of Nimble Flight might seem a little confusing why I have it in the combo finisher section, but I will explain. And essentially, these Gust Dive, Unicorn Spike, Spirit of Nimble Flight, and Wrath of Enlil work really well when used in kind of like this order. So you come up here, Rolling Moonsault, Gust Dive, Unicorn Spike, then do it again, run through it again, then go Nimble Flight and Wrath of Enlil. And the reason why I find this works well is because Gust Dive moves you across the map. So you're kind of getting to a fresh part of the map before you drop a really strong move like Unicorn Strike onto fresh enemies. Another thing is, Spirit Nimble Flight will come back every other rotation through this stack. So we do this once, we go to Gust Dive, Unicorn Spike, then the next time Spirit of Nimble Flight will be off cooldown because it takes 6 seconds per cooldown. Every time you run through these link skills, Unicorn Spike and Wrath of Enlil will reduce their cooldown by 1 second. And so the developers have timed it so that when you go through and do this, you will be able to use these moves. And the next time around, you can do this. You can move across the map again. Use Spirit Nimble Flight to in-air dodge. So Spirit Nimble Flight is an in-air dodge move. You can dodge to a new part, and you can use Wrath of Enlil onto fresh enemies as well. Now, Wrath of Enlil is or can be used just standalone. Actually, Unicorn Spike and Wrath of Enlil can just be used standing on the ground. Like you don't need to go through all of this to get to these moves. You can just use them. Wrath of Enlil also occasionally grants a small window of invincibility where you will not take damage from a boss or getting hit. It's kind of tricky to know exactly which kind of incoming damages you will be invincible from. It's best to rely on the other invincible moves, which I'll talk about in a second. Okay, I'm going to show the combo from Lightning Edge all the way to Unicorn Spike, just so you can see how it works. And then afterwards, I will show all the way from Lightning Edge down to using Spirit Nimble Flight to your Wrath of Enlil. Okay, now let's do Spirit Nimble Flight Wrath of Enlil. Now there was nothing for us to really move to right there, so but I just wanted to show you like how it works. Okay, before we talk about the true invincible moves, we have to talk about what used to be like a semi-invincible move, and that was Sylvidia's Flight. Now Sylvidia's Flight is just a damaging move, so you can just hit the key and it will do big damage like that. As far as I know, Mercedes does not have any native bind moves, and to make up for this fact, they gave Mercedes a lot of invincible moves. So the first one we already kind of talked about, and that's Wrath of Enlil, which is this move. And so when you use that move, you'll be invincible from certain like physical attacks for like a second or two. I myself actually haven't completely figured out because I'm always kind of guessing if I'm going to be invincible or not if I use that move. Sometimes I am, sometimes I'm not. It kind of depends like if the move is like a contact move or not. Um, the other one is the Water Shield. So it gives you 2 seconds of invincibility with a 60-second cooldown. It's really good. I feel like it used to be better, but I can't really remember 100%. And then the final invincible move is the Royal Knights move. Now, Royal Knights is a buff, but it's also an invincible move. And so when you hit the key and you summon the knights, you're invincible during that initial animation. Now, the Royal Knights will only attack if you attack, so I'm using this kind of basic attack, and the Royal Knights are helping me out damaging. Now, I can de-summon them before it's completely over, and during that small de-summoning animation, I'm also invincible. Okay, let's talk about the buffs. The Royal Knights I just talked about. They damage when you damage. And there's the on-off skills up here, Elemental Knights, and this is a common one in guided areas. You should always just have these on. I have them off right now for demonstration purposes. But yeah, you just always have these on. Especially Elemental Knights, does a lot more damage than you think. So having those on is a great idea. I gotta look at my sequences. Then we have Heroic Memories, Ancient Warding, Elvish Blessing. These are the 3 that come with Mercedes. And also Spirit of LUL. This is a buff that's kind of like in its own class, similar to Royal Knights. It has kind of like a secondary purpose. Like Royal Knight's secondary purpose is making you invincible both in and out of the move. And Spirit of LUL also has kind of like a secondary purpose, which I'll talk about in a second. But Heroic Memories, Ancient Warding, Elvish Blessing, these are kind of like your basic power-up buffs. And they make a huge difference for Mercedes. So you should always be having these on. Okay, so I've summoned a boss here in the training grounds. I'm gonna get the Spirit of LUL going, and then I'm gonna use Urkala's Wrath, which is Mercedes boss delete button. There's a 50% chance to do the secondary effect, which you can see is running right there. The after image skill with Spirit of LUL running. That includes with Ishtar's Ring, so you can see it also activated for Ishtar's Ring. And this greatly increases the damage output of these moves. We should have softened them up a little bit with some of these other moves. Like that. And so you see we have like some debuffs on him now. And then if we use those plus our other buffs, now that you see a number over here much bigger.
I've only just begun.
You can see the damage output is going to be quite a bit different. So it's really important to have all your buffs running. Like for Mercedes, it's super important actually. Okay, I just want to do some demonstrations of the combos I was showing earlier. Just so you know, like, they do actually work. I don't want to use the thunder thing if I don't have to. Oh, did the dailies reset? Alright, let me show you, or give a demonstration of the first kind of combo technique I was talking about, which is like the herding technique. Push and pull. You see how I'm using the electric slide to kind of like move onto one side. I guess I can give a demonstration of the boss delete button right here. At full power, we'll see how quickly we get rid of this dude. Oh, we're not able to fully take him out with that. They were pretty close. Okay, so first, do the slide. So S, S, and push him back. You can't see it. Slide, drag him back, get in the air, use our big moves on them, and that's how we wipe it. We have lightning edge. So first we use lightning edge to slide through, and we use rising rush to kind of group them together. And then we start going into our aerial combos right here. Once you get more familiar with this, you can kind of get a feel for how to like kind of change the order of these. But in the basic setup I have right now, it will work just fine. The air dodge can be used to go just straight up like I did right there. But I can also air dodge like across this. Yeah, I can go and really get some movement on without using any jumps or anything whatsoever. Just relying purely on the skills, movements themselves. And you can see shift, which is kind of like your basic attack, or my shift anyway, stunning strikes. I mean, you can use that move like if your hand gets cramped from using all these combos all the time. Sometimes it's just nice to just sit there and use stunning strikes. I'm going to use the air dodge from all the way back, hit them with Invincible. Use the unicorn spike right there, so now I have air dodge back. I can jump back again. So that's kind of how that works. My air dodge will be back. I air dodge up and move. Now you don't need to rotate between unicorn spike and then Wrath of Invincible. You can just use them together actually if you want. Because both of their cooldowns get reduced thanks to using Link skills. So you are really powering up Mercedes as a character if you use the Link skills. Oh, another little technique I didn't show, was because there was no rope, is that you can actually hit the jump key on a rope, or jump and the up, or is it just, yeah, you have to hit up and jump. And you'll kind of like fly up the rope or the ladder. That's kind of just a little cool touch this character has. Okay, maybe I'll just show like a little bit more just like basic farming. Notice I haven't really used any of the like buffs to do any of this. I'm just using the Link skills. But I can use the knights So as I attack, they attack. I'll let this thing come through anyway. I want to come to this map. I know that technically I'm overpowered for this map, or over leveled for this map, but I just wanted to show what I'm talking about with some of these air dodges. And some of the other movement and like how much movement you can actually do just using these techniques. There's all sorts of like little combos you can do. Alright, I just want to say a few final words. That is, if you're having trouble doing any of the link skills, you may have to mash the keys. Sometimes Nexon or MapleStory can be a little bit laggy. So you may find yourself, just hitting the key multiple times before the move comes out. Not unusual. Yeah, practice makes perfect. Just keep trying the keys out in the order I showed you here if that's something that interests you. But that's all I have for Mercedes right now. So, alright, bye.